President Trump will be in East Tennessee. He will hold a Make America Great Again rally in Johnson City.
The president will arrive later today. Some people lining up and have been for hours in advance of it. Others want nothing to do with it.
We want to try and get in. I would say 9, 10 o'clock.
I'm going to bring a throwaway chair and some drinks and some cereal bars. And I'm coming by myself.
He has a lot of supporters in this area. I'm not one of them, and I never will be.
Rally's expected to bring business to the Tri-Cities. Johnson City schools will be closed today. Road closures and traffic are expected in some areas of town.
The Washington County Democratic Party is planning a protest at the same time as President Trump's rally. And while in town, the president will also campaign for Republican Senate candidate Marsha Blackburn. She is running for the seat held by Senator Corker alongside former Tennessee Governor Phil Bredesen. Bredesen was the last Democrat to win a statewide election in Tennessee. And this will be President Trump's 6th rally in Tennessee since he began his campaign in 2015. It's his first in Johnson City. Just this year, the president's already visited Nashville twice. In January, he spoke about the challenges facing the farming industry at the American Farm Bureau Federation's campaign. Then in May, he returned to the Music City for another Blackburn fundraiser. Vice President Mike Pence also made a short visit to Knoxville just over a week ago. Well, the oldest brick church in